Oh, wait, no longer. Greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. Of course, you can listen to this show wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube at the Trophy Room YouTube channel. If you like what you hear, please consider dropping us a 5-star review over at Apple Podcasts, or if you really, really like us, toss us a buck our way over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host, whoever is, whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty great.
Yeah?
I'm tired, but other
Same.
than that, feels good. It feels like, something monumental and historic happened today.
Couldn't even think of it.
And it feels like it's a little bit of a more positive place.
Like a relief.
Lots of work to do, but it feels...
Exactly.
There's a weight gone from the shoulders.
It's like 4 years of stress automatically
Yeah.
off your shoulders for some reason. It's great. For me, Kyle, I ran into a situation the other day. You want to hear it?
I'm ready.
So in the whole trying to get a console thing, I got my PlayStation 5 easy. I'm one of Jim Ryan's chosen one. He sent me that letter. He didn't send you one, suck it. I was trying to find an Xbox, and I bought one on Amazon UK. It's a Series S. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the lines, I found a Series X on Costco, like a week before this thing was going to launch. So I ordered it from Costco, and I totally forgot about the Series S. So the Series S came in, and I have nothing, I don't need it anymore, obviously. Mm-hmm. But Amazon won't let me return it. Mm. I need to pay, because it was Amazon UK, international fees, which guess how much that was? $200.
Probably. Yeah, I was about to say.
So this is a predicament, right? What do I do with 2 Xboxes when I barely almost use one? Here's the deal. As this thought enters, what am I going to do? We have this charity event, right? So we are streaming this show right now live for everybody over at twitch.tv/PS Trophy Room. And I thought, yes, it's a little off-brand to advertise an Xbox, but if you're feeling it, please, 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 we're doing this for our good friend Bobby Pauls. He's fighting COVID-19. He's been in the hospital since Halloween. So his medical expenses are through the roof. And we're trying our best to raise as much money as we can. We're at right now $20K. I've thrown this Xbox as part of it. All you need to do, donate $10 and up to Gaming for Guru. Link in the description, link in the chat, or exclamation point donate. Get involved, help Bobby. If it was not for this man, I would not be podcasting today. I wouldn't be here today. This man, I owe it all to him. Seriously. So please, please, please go in there, donate. It's for a good cause. And you get to maybe try out a Game Pass and see what that is all about. But
it's pretty good.
With that
Spoiler
said.
alert.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty nice. This is a real good value. All the Wolfensteins are there? Jeez. Listen, we have a very special guest with us today. Kate Sanchez. How are you? And what do you do? All that good stuff.
Hi, thank you for having me, mainly because I've been wanting to let my pterodactyl screeching about Hitman reach the masses. So I am Kate Sanchez. I am the editor-in-chief of But Why Do a Geek Community. We are an entertainment and pop culture website focused on doing reviews, interviews, recaps, news, literally any type of coverage of any type of pop culture media. That means video games, comics, books, manga, anime, TV, film. We do it all. And we do it all with a focus of uplifting diverse and marginalized journalists and creators in the space. So we have a lot of stuff. I personally have written 4 articles on Hitman 3 now. So I'm a gaming journalist, but I tend to go really hard on the games that I don't review that many, but when I do, I'm like, here are 10 essays on why this game is great.
That's awesome. That's excellent. And I truly do love your work and what you set out to do. And first off, I like the biggest process. I've always wanted to say this to you. I love the name because you always get that in that question in a conversation. It's like when you're talking about a character motivation, you're like, yeah, but why though? Why the whole door maneuver?
Yeah.
You know,
It's funny because we actually started as a podcast, and the podcast is still going. And that was the whole thing. Was I actually have my master's in sociology and anthropology of religion, which and how it intersected with pop culture. So I've kind of been asking why though. Like for my entire academic career, and when I decided to ditch the PhD, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna make a podcast about pop culture."
That's
and 3 years later, here we are with a full running site and stuff. So
It's awesome.
That's fantastic. And again, and like uplifting diverse voices, that's what, we've been trying to do, especially the past year and a half. Even like as like, I've said it multiple times, like I'm a Hispanic podcaster. I don't know many of us out there, and so to see people try to shine that spotlight on other diverse voices is awesome, and it's needed because you get that other side of the conversation that you never knew existed. It's awesome when that happens. So, Kate, I'm so happy that you're here, and especially because we got a lot of Hitman to talk about. We're going to talk about our impressions, your review of Hitman 3. We're going to be talking about God of War's unannounced second project that's seemingly in the works. We're going to talk about them PS5 faceplates because it's that type of week. Sony's new San Diego team working on an existing franchise, and CD Projekt Red's sort of apology. But before we get into any of that, Kyle, we start the show off with a little segment I like to call What You Been Playing. So Kyle, what you been playing?
So on last week's show, I made it a point that I was going to try the Borderlands 3 PS5 version. So a couple days ago, I put in my disc, downloaded the PS5 version. I followed the steps to bring my character over.
Oh, there's steps.
It's like you go on the PS4 version, right?
Okay.
You upload your save.
Okay.
For your character, I guess, to the board of the 2K Gearbox kind of servers, whatever. I don't know how the tech works. And then you go onto the PS5 version and you go to download save, and you should have your character there, right? It should work.
That doesn't sound like a smart delivery to me. Okay.
It really isn't. Because every time I go to download my character, I get an error and it boots me to the homepage on my PlayStation 5. Jeez. So I have yet to run through all the new DLC, which is what I wanted to do. I thought maybe I had to try a new character and have a character to overwrite when I download the save. That didn't work either. But I will say in that short little bit of time when I was playing as Mose, the gunner, just for like that first couple missions, it felt great. The DualSense feels great. The rumble's real nice. The haptic feedback. How
is the haptic feedback? Because everybody, we were like, "What's some games you want us to try out?" Everybody's like, "Borderlands 3, Borderlands 3." I'm like, "Okay, where did y'all come from?" So how does it feel? Does it feel like something? It
feels
special?
good. I wish I had all my like high powered weapons and like to try out the alternate fires and how those feel. Like all I had access to was a pistol and a basic shotgun, and triggers felt pretty nice. They didn't blow my mind at all, but they still felt pretty nice. The big thing for me though, and the big issue for the PS4 version of it, was whenever you would pop into that menu, man, it would freeze and slow down everything. And
is that gone?
Not a problem. It is gone. It's snappy. It doesn't like the resolution doesn't drop when you're in a menu and hop back out. Like it looks great. But
if it wasn't for Randy Pitchford just being
with you.
The sleaziest dude, I would feel more compelled to pick that up.
I'm with you.
But just I see a picture of him and I just get skeezed. He just has
I can't
the aura.
believe not last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I sat in the Borderlands 3 premiere and Randy Pitchford did a magic trick for everybody.
Of course
what a
insane
thing.
Was that the launch party in Dallas?
No, that was in Boston.
Oh, because he did the same thing at the
did he?
Borderlands 3 launch party in Dallas.
That's amazing.
Is this your card, Dallas? I love it.
He's got one thing, and I guess that's what he does.
I really, when you tell me he did a magic trick, I'm really thinking like he's a magician. Like he got on like the magician like cape and like top hat, like bunny and everything. That's what I'm always thinking.
That was pretty close.
Really?
I don't remember, really. I know it dealt with cards.
Yeah. For me, Kyle, I've been playing a little game called, what was it? The Last Campfire. Sorry, COVID fuck's still there. Yeah, dude, I played it. You beat it in 5 hours. I'm bad at puzzlers, that's what this game is. And I beat it in 7. And let me tell you something. A team of 3 or so from Hello Games made this beautiful, almost chibi, vibrant, game about hope and about kind of not even the meaning of life, but more like change and taking that next step. You're an ember, a little beautiful, little cute little creature, and you're trying to go on through the next process of your life. That could be death. It could be a new adventure. We don't know, and it's kind of for you to interpret. And honestly, the puzzles are easy enough. Marcus O'Neill saw me struggle when we were streaming for Bobby. But they're easy enough for even a little dummy like me to kind of get my hooks around it and to kind of, progress rather easily. And yeah, that last hour of the game really hit and resonated with me. Cause I know, like, I don't want to get emotional 7 minutes into a show, but like, we've had those conversations, you and I, about feeling in that bad place, feeling kind of hopeless, feeling like I can't take that next step, and kind of us being there for each other in that type of way. Real cute. $10. Go out there and buy this game.
Yeah, like I said when I played it towards the end of 2020.
Yeah,
like it hit every single mental health struggle that I was going through. There was a puzzle or a character going through the same thing, and by completing the puzzle, you get that person's spark and like fire, passion back for them, and like it dealt with like imposter syndrome, anxiety, depression, like everything. That game's real special.
Yeah, that sounds phenomenal.
If you're looking. Please go check it out.
Yeah, Kate, it is a really nice, like, chill experience, especially since you've been assassinating all types of folks.
Yes. hey, sometimes I just subdue them with the Fabergé egg.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear about that.
I can't wait to hear about that. Kate, is there any game or just piece of media, I guess, because you cover all the things, that you'd like to give a little shout out before we get into the weeds of things?
Trying to think. So honestly, I have not been playing too much, but I will give a shout out to ESO because they had a huge sale, and I owned the base game, but I didn't own any of the DLC from Morrowind up, and they had a sale where all of that with the Greymoor Collectors thing was $16, and it got you all of the DLC. And my husband is probably the #1 Bethesda fan I have ever met in my life, and The Elder Scrolls is his fandom in the way that Agent 47 in Suits is mine. And it was and so we bought it to play together, and then the code for Hitman came in. I was like, sorry, I'm gonna go replay all 3. So I have ESO booted up. I really, when I did play, I'm a tank. I really enjoyed tanking in that game, and I really enjoyed the veteran dungeon mechanic. So I'm really excited to jump back in and see what's changed since I played, because it's been like, I think in our guild log says I last logged on like 42 months ago. So
that's how I always
feel.
That goes. That's how I always feel with, I'm going to say it, Kyle, I don't care. With World of Warcraft, it's like, it's been years, but it's still going to feel familiar, but then at the same exact time, it's going to be like everything has changed.
Yeah. And like, we've been playing Final Fantasy 14, like, that has been our MMO for like a while now, and so I'm like, oh gosh, how do I go from tanking in Final Fantasy to tanking in ESO? These are very different.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely with you. And from what I hear too, like ESO has, and I know someone's gonna come at me because it's the internet, but has some of the best like tanking mechanics. Like people really seem to.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Like, my main thing really when I did play, the tanky mechanics I loved. I mean, but what I really liked were the armor sets for tanks. So one of this, because I ran two sets, but one of the sets I ran for our veteran dungeon runs was a set that had like 6 health orbs, and each of those orbs would go out to a party member as they would go down in health, and it was a way to like make up for the fact that ESO has no idea what it wants to be for players, and you don't actually have to roll into the Holy Trinity, and you can be a healer with a bow and really suck. So like it was really nice because I felt like I actually had stuff that catered to tanking.
That's awesome.
And it was really thought out. But it's been forever since I've played, so I will get back to you on whether or not it's better than tanking in Final Fantasy.
All right. I'll take you up on that offer. And before we start squaring up the news, I want to give a big shout out to our patrons over at Patreon.com. Just like how we always say here, if we ever got you through a long car ride, a long day at work, this whole COVID situation, it really does mean a lot if you throw a buck our way over at Patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. But then, as I was saying that, more importantly, go over and donate to Bobby Paul's. You know what? Patreon can wait 1 week. You go over to the link down below, donate to Bobby, because he needs that way more than us this week. And I'd like to thank our Platinum members, Todd Burowitz, and too soon I want to thank our Gold members, Chaotic Monkey, Gavin Godfrey, Griffin, Wes, Jose Jimenez, Jedi Master Ren. Our Silver Plus members, Hyde Indoors, Marcus O'Neill, Ray Martinez, JB the Purple Monkey, Jadis Von Metal, Tim Ulf, and Justin Rodriguez. Thank you all for your support and letting us do what we do each and every week. Thank you so much. And a little bit of housekeeping as well. You might get another episode this week of the Trophy Room, depending on what Resident Evil does, because we're going to be streaming one more time for our reactions to the Resident Evil showcase. Be there, be square, or be scared, because that's actually what you really should be. That pun would have made more sense if I said scared instead of squared. But with that said, Kyle, it's time to square up the news.
Our first news story comes from Jordan Alleman over at IGN. God of War Studios' an unannounced second project is seemingly still in the works. Sony Santa Monica's unannounced second project looks like it's still in the works, according to a job listing for an art director position at the studio. A tweet from the official Sony Santa Monica account below notes that the studio is, quote, seeking an experienced art director for the development of a new unannounced title, end quote. There's not much else to go on in the job listing itself, beyond the fact that it's aiming to be a genre-defining game. Back in 2018, we learned via Reset Era that Sony Santa Monica had created a strategic, multi-phase, long-term studio plan spanning 2 future projects following God of War, according to LinkedIn posts from studio staff. Prior to 2018's God of War, the studio was working on a new sci-fi IP, which was unfortunately canceled.
And when we saw tiny glimpses of it in the God of War documentary, that kind of gave me some, like, Dishonored and space vibes. I really want them to go back to.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it was this one, but wasn't that supposed to be like a Battlestar Galactica kind of game, I think? I could be wrong, but I thought that's what their inspiration for that game was.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like a theme, like, because I'm like, I don't think Galactica has like the for like, you know, like a Star War, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I thought like you were talking like a theme game. Kyle, I got a question though for you. Because we hear all the time, right? Studio A's doing this, Studio B's doing that. Rarely do you see them flat out say, hey, we're trying to look for people for a new project, and it's not God of War. Like, for them to just flat out say, yeah, we got something cooking, it's in the works. I got it's a 2-prong attack here. 2 questions that roll into one. A, is this something Corey's actually working on? Because that's the rumor, right? For the longest time is Corey's working on a space-themed video game. And 2, if Corey is working on this, or if he's not, who would you rather see tackle a space theme? Because we also get rumors of Naughty Dog's next thing has to do with space. And Neil's been hinting at space for a while now via The Last of Us. But that could just be a character thing, and we're just all overthinking it. Yeah. So, Kyle, there you go. What do you think?
Oh, man. I wouldn't be shocked if Corey is working on this space, if it is a space game or this second IP. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I don't think he's fully in on that. I really do think he's all about God of War Ragnarok currently. That's not to say once that is done or the writing, the script is all written out and completed, because it feels like he's playing with and toying with us on Twitter. Yeah, like he's saying he has writer's block and then not have writer's block. Like, Corey, what are you doing to me? I want to play your game real bad.
Yeah. Also, put me in your game.
There you go. Put Joe in the game.
Make me a little dwarf.
But which do I want more?
Yeah.
From Santa Monica Space or Naughty Dog?
Yeah. Think about it.
Man, they both would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think I would rather have Santa Monica do the space game.
Fair.
Not that I don't think Naughty Dog would absolutely kill it, because I think they would. I want Naughty Dog to do just a balls to the wall action Mission Impossible style kind of game,
right?
With like crazy set pieces.
So what? So you're thinking like this game, this space game that Santa Monica is dreaming of doing.
That's if it is this second project, this space.
If it is, you're thinking it's more like hub world, like God of War, like more open space.
I think it's got to be more of like a hub world. I don't know if it's going to be like a Destiny type of thing and hop between planets. I don't think it's going to be that big.
Are we gonna get some Apollo 13 quotes? Apollo 13, the game. You're Tom Hanks.
Sure.
For Sean
or Gravity. You're just floating through space.
For Sean Capri, it's Armageddon. It's Armageddon the game. Kate, what were you gonna say?
I just want to go back to a Mission Impossible style game. I would 100% take a Mission Impossible game, because Mission Impossible is the only franchise that actually gets better with every sequel that comes out.
Absolutely.
Let me play Mission Impossible, please.
I will stand for Fast and the Furious, okay? I didn't mind that they outran a submarine.
On ice.
On ice. And didn't The Rock, like, didn't he hurl
out of a cast?
I believe he... Yeah.
He flexed out of a cast. He carried a whole... can I cuss? Is this?
Yeah.
Okay. He carried a whole ass, like, mounted gun that was on a helicopter that no human should be able to carry as well.
Yep.
And I think in that same submarine sequence, doesn't he punch the torpedo or like grab it and throw it in another direction?
Mm-hmm. And also, I would like when he broke the cast, like someone turned around and go, "You could have done that this whole time." Like I would.
Oh my god! What if it's like? What if we just? This is extremely off topic, but what if somebody just makes like a DC Online world, but instead of superhero characters, it's just Fast and the Furious?
Oh my god! Yes. Everyone has their own car.
Punch the street.
Oh, yeah.
You're just punching asphalt, and that's what's happening. I dig it. Listen, Kate, I know when it comes to the PlayStation ecosystem, you're not all with it with us kids over here. But what are your thoughts of Santa Monica as a studio, if you have any relation to them, and what sparks your mind when you hear something like them looking for new art direction, looking for writers, whether it's the type of gamer or where on their journey with this game they're at?
Well, so I mean, to be completely honest, I'm not on the PlayStation train, just because, like, I have a PC and I have an Xbox, and that's more than enough for my time.
Fair.
But it doesn't mean that I don't admire a lot of the games that come out exclusively for PlayStation. We just tend to aim for the more co-op and multiplayer focused games, which are, on there just because I game with my husband. But I've had immense love of watching people play through God of War and watch people play through these games. And for me personally, I just want more space set games in general, because I'm a huge Dead Space fan. So like you can totally go like the Event Horizon route and just give me a claustrophobic haunted spaceship, but make it different, and I will love it. You can give me like planet hopping and I will love it. But I just like, I feel, and I'm also a huge Mass Effect fan, so like we don't have enough space right now. And humans are boring.
Yes.
Like, hell, give us, like, hyper stylized, like alien creatures, and that's what you play as. And there's no humans involved, and you're just doing alien stuff on alien things, and just give me it. I don't care if it's action adventure or sandbox. I just give me more space games, please. And like true space games.
Yeah.
Not like this is near futuristic and it's all humans in a cult. No, I don't want humans. Give me something either deep, dark, gritty, trauma infested humans like Dead Space, or give me just completely off the wall.
Even a step further, like I want a space game where the main character isn't humanoid at all.
Yes.
I want to play as an alien.
Please.
You're Zeepzorp and you're a blob. That's what I immediately thought. Okay, you had me at Dead Space. Then you had me again.
Trophy room daily double right there.
You really did. Kyle played Bloodborne. That's a triple right there. But seriously, I would love. Oh my god, a Santa Monica Dead Space game.
It would be phenomenal, and also like their ability to write so like if Santa Monica did a Dead Space game, I feel, because like one of the like powerful things about Dead Space that I don't think gets enough love is just the portrayal of mental health in that world, the ability to switch through different viewpoints, how well the lore is done, and I think that that's something that's been proven with God of War, and I think that it can be adapted really well, and it would have enough nuance.
Yeah, and I feel like when it comes to Santa Monica. And of course, obviously, they can't do Dead Space owned by EA. I know someone's yelling in their car about it. But like, when it comes to like Santa Monica, they are pretty versatile in what type of games that they make or help produce. Like, of course, you got angry Kratos being all upset, but like you also have like games like I believe Flower was made out of Santa Monica, or at least incubated there for a time, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that was published. Wasn't that a that game company game?
It is that game company game, but they had a weird relationship with Santa Monica.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were going steady at the time or what was happening there, but yeah, like they have range to them, and especially what like this God of War has shown is that like and their writing is top notch, and like when I'm looking back at the PlayStation 4 generation, God of War is the perfect game. You know, it is the game that I resonate to the most as well. So for me, when I hear, first when I hear that they're still looking for, an art director or whatnot, not everything's there yet. You know what I mean? So obviously this is a years out type of thing. This is far after when God of War comes out. But it does ring something kind of hopeful in me that PlayStation is really now taking their teams, growing them to make more projects, having more, multi-teamed studios, or sorry, multi-layered teams in these studios. That gives me a lot of hope. So you're going to see more out of Santa Monica. You may see more out of Naughty Dog, perhaps. My hope is, I would love a space thing. And not so much a sim, but like something that is, I'm actually going to say, like, give me Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. Like, you could give me a human aspect of things for sure. But like, have it be a little bit more grounded. Like, something on a space station has gone wrong, and you're there to investigate. You're there to kind of figure it out. Like, horror is where I go to the most, especially when I'm thinking God of War, because of how brutal it can be as well. Yeah. So that's why I'm very much like, I think if anybody has this space IP, it's definitely Santa Monica. And I think in terms of like Naughty Dog, they're off doing their own thing, and it's really whatever Neil wants at this point.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think anybody has really any input over there but him.
I feel like Jim Ryan's just like, Neil, what do you want to do, buddy? And he's there like chewing gum on his smartphone. He's like, whatever. It's like, all right, we're doing whatever. but yeah, like I do think for Santa Monica, I think branching out would be a really awesome choice for them. Maybe it's an RPG. Maybe when I'm thinking in my heart of hearts, it's an RPG.
You know what I am thinking about, Kyle?
If we,
what's that? Okay, go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I think at the end of the day for me, and I just want more new IPs overall.
Yeah.
Like, no, no shade at God of War, because that was a completely revamping of a franchise. Like, I completely understand that. But, like, I say this even, like, having loved Hitman 3, but, like, some things do need to end. And and I feel like, for me, I'm kind of sequeled out. Like, I love these worlds, and, like, I will tell you right now, I am extremely excited for whatever EA is pulling with the new Mass Effect, and I am extremely excited for the Resident Evil showcase. But I think that, like, there's so much new talent in the games industry that has been able to enter it over the past, like, 5 years that it's opened up, that I think throwing people into projects that already have this long history and lore, while it is rewarding in a sense, why not use the more diverse landscape and the more talent to break out and do more original IPs and make new franchises? Like, really come in strong with the new generation of gaming with new IPs that are going to define it.
I really like that. And actually, you know what? That leans into the next story. So I actually want to hold on to that comment. I'm going to put it in my pocket for a sec. Kyle, could you actually, let's just skip on over to the San Diego team story, because I think that point lends itself well to the story right here.
Real quick, something I did want to just pop in there that popped in my head.
Yeah.
I want Santa Monica's version of Horizon from Guerrilla. I want them to go branch out and try something new. That's what I want from them.
Do something weird, do something crazy. I dig it.
Absolutely, yeah. Matt Purslow over at IGN writes, Sony's new San Diego team is working on existing franchises. PlayStation's new San Diego-based studio is working to, quote, expand upon existing franchises, end quote, according to the LinkedIn profile of the studio's former head. Michael Mumbauer worked at PlayStation as studio head until November 2020. In the segment of his profile detailing his work with the new San Diego team, Mumbauer writes, quote, his latest achievement is having built a brand new all-star AAA action-adventure development team for PlayStation. Based in San Diego and utilizing proprietary engine technology, this team was assembled to expand upon existing franchises and craft all new stories for the next generation of gamers, end quote. As for this new development team, it should not be confused with oh my God, back up, Kyle.
You got it.
It should not be confused with San Diego Studio, Sony's first-party development house that has spent much of its lifetime dedicated to creating installments of MLB The Show. Instead, this new San Diego-based studio is a new assembly that has yet to be officially announced.
And don't worry about the notes, Kyle. I'm going to do something crazy, but it's just for time purposes.
You got it.
That leads to a great point from Kate. Kate is sequeled out, and I see that point because, when we're thinking about the yearly releases, we're on Call of Duty, Cold War, Black Ops, whatever the name is, right? Like, it's the 28th Call of Duty, right? How many Assassin's Creed there are, and now we're just like, don't even give me modern day, just give me these stories. Like, how many yearly releases they are, and every game having to be a franchise. Like, Kate, I can see that, like, you're already turned off by this idea. You're like, I kind of want none of it. Right?
Yeah, and it's not to say that, like, I mean, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is very different than the original Assassin's Creed mainline stories, and so was Odyssey, and to an effect, so was Origins, and for me personally, there comes a point where if you keep revamping your franchise, it loses some of the things that made that franchise what that was, and at that point, just make new games. Like, just make a new IP on that thing. Because, like, and and I'm a Assassin's Creed fan, but my husband is even more than me, and he pointed it out a lot to me. It's just kind of like, being a Viking, cool, be like not having the hidden blade in Odyssey, I guess that's fine, but like as franchises grow, they do have to change to adapt, which sometimes means changing the game mechanics as well. I mean, it's why I absolutely detest the 2013 Tomb Raider, because Tomb Raider is a franchise that is very near and dear to my heart. There were literally 7 tombs in that entire game. 7. And like no platforming, and it was all just and so for me, I would rather, like, keep games. Man, I'm gonna sound like an asshole.
No,
like,
go for it.
Keep the heart and keep the structure of games that you have, and take the new ideas that you want to do and make something new with them. Like, for me, Immortals coming out completely blasted the doors off of the Ubisoft catalog, because it's nothing like anything else that they had.
And it looked like nothing else they had.
Exactly. And that
so
was a breath of fresh air when, like, we're essentially getting Division copies for, like, every other game that comes out. And I love Ubisoft with all my heart, but, like...
No, I totally get you there. And I feel that in my veins as well, because, like, every time you see a game, it comes out, you're like, okay, there's no definitive ending to this. It has to, we're going to be on game 7 or 8, because games are just that expensive to make, that once you establish a game, you need to establish a franchise along with it. And I think we're also, as gamers, we're just so, we're so used to sequels at this point. Like, I love Bloodborne. Bloodborne is a perfect game to me. I already want a Bloodborne 2. I shouldn't. Theoretically, because that game's perfect, don't mess with perfection. But I'm like, man, but what if they put 2 Father Gascoignes in a boss fight? Like, I'm already thinking of that, because you get acquainted to these worlds. You put so much time into them. You love that universe, and I'm right there with you too, because, like, you know, when it comes to, like, your husband, for example, is an Assassin's Creed fan. He's just like, wait a second here. This doesn't smell or look like Assassin's Creed anymore. I know people that will not touch the new Assassin's Creed games, because Assassin's Creed are self-genre. Now they're this action-adventure open world, and it's a totally different game. Totally different. It's Valhalla is nothing like, and I get it, sequels are supposed to branch out, but, like, there's just nothing like what the predecessors were like. And not to say that those games aren't great, because Valhalla's fantastic, but and Odyssey's fantastic. Cassandra, I love her. So, like, you know, it's not that they don't have compelling characters, they don't have compelling worlds. It's just they've moved so beyond their original concept that they feel different, and they have a tendency of alienating their older fans.
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you when I read this story of just, like, I don't need any more Uncharted. I am Uncharted.
The world does not need any more Uncharted.
We got 5. We're good, right? But, like, at the same time, I know what Kyle's about to say. I want to see more Chloe Nadine fighting, being bros, and I totally understand that as well. So, like, to me, I take a look at this. I'm like, why can't San Diego Studio? Why won't San Diego Studio make a new IP? And it leans over to the question for you, Kyle. Is the reason why they're working on an existing franchise, is the reason because Insomniac's been dangling this carrot in front of you for months?
Stop it.
Is it because San Diego, German word, is it because they're maybe revitalizing some old franchises like a Resistance, perhaps?
Oh, man. God, how dare you?
I'm a good host. This is what I do, gang.
Insomniac's up to something. They know what they're doing with their tweeting out Resistance images and just teasing me for months now. How dare you? So, like, I'm totally with Kate on this whole thing, where I'm totally fine with studios being like, this ran its course. We had a story to tell. The story's done. Let's not force it. Because then when we get to force it just to make another entry, it degrades not just that game, but the whole IP is now taken down a few levels, because you got to take the whole story over everything.
Right.
And if one thing is bad, it brings everything down.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I said for my game of the year last year, which was The Last of Us Part 2, that was the sequel we did not need whatsoever. Like, I was totally fine with the first one, but we got it, and it, you know, I'm happy with it, but I'm fine with it. It made the story of one better, but, like, I totally understand all sides.
They ruined it. Abby's arms are too big.
But, like, when I read this story, and to me, this literally says AAA Action Adventure Development Team. Just say this is now the Uncharted team.
Yeah.
Because that's
everybody knows.
Yeah. Like, you say Resistance. Resistance is a first-person shooter. It's not an action-adventure game.
I'm just trying to give you hope.
I know.
I want to give you hope so I can crush it in front of you.
so funny too, because like, because I am such like the first game I ever beat by myself, my first game as a baby gamer was Tomb Raider. That was it on the original PlayStation. The first games that I ever personally owned were Tomb Raider 1 and 2. And so, like, I played through all of the reboots. And so I do believe that a sequel this far out or rebooting a franchise can be good. Because Shadow of the Tomb Raider, holy crap, man. Like, that gave me everything I wanted. It gave me intense Lara. It gave me no bullshit Lara. It gave me puzzles and platforming and everything that I remembered. But it did this thing where it's like, okay, me as a returning fan was finally satisfied. But then I knew people who had loved the reboot and came into Tomb Raider with the reboot and were like, ugh, why is all this stuff in here? And I'm like, what are you even talking about? This is literally what the series is. And so, like, it's one of those things where, like, you have to know, like, what are you going to do, right? Like, are you going to keep playing to the people who have invested in the genre and expect something out of it? And then, okay, well, maybe that doesn't work that well, so you switch and you make it something different, or you go the other way. Like, you're always going to be alienating an audience. Right. With a new IP, you only stand to gain.
Yeah.
And that is something that is, because you're not in the shadow of other things. And like, it's something that like also bothers me when we have franchises coming up, and this is outside of just gaming too, but like when we have franchises that, you know, maybe pass a mantle or something, and especially when it's to a character who comes from a marginalized background, is they then live with the burden and the weight of everything that came before it. Mm-hmm. And if there is one thing wrong, all of it comes crashing down.
Yeah.
And that's just not fair. That's not fair to a dev team. That's not fair to the character. And if you just, you know, maybe just make that new game, you know, trust a new IP.
And you know what?
Something.
You hit something, like, talk about other things outside gaming. Like Chris Evans, the ultimate man crush for me, man. Oh my God, he's handsome. He's reported coming back to the MCU in some form way. Hopefully ripping along and just make it, well, just, he can rip all sort of, like a plane in half, and I'm on board with that.
For a second, I was like, ripping logs? What are you talking about? That is flashback.
He rips the log in Civil War. It's perfect.
Yep.
No. That's Age of Ultron. I remember
Age of Ultron, that's right.
My heart skipped a beat there. Civil War is, he's holding the helicopter, and it's equally
there we go.
Real cool. So, like, he's come back, and everybody's like, I kind of like just the way he ended. Like, you know, I like how he turned into Joe Biden at the end. Like, people really dig that. And I do like how they carry the mantle of Captain America, or what we assume with, like, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, that is something that's like, that burden of this shield representing more than just a shield. Like, you know, representing this ideal. And I'm totally there with you. I think like a new IP is kind of gets me more pumped. I would like to know where everybody else falls in line on this. But Griffin West, and this one goes straight for you, Kyle, and it's off to the next story. But Griffin West writes in, would you like to see one of Sony's biggest studios go all out on a PSVR game? Or should their talent be centered on a standard cinematic 2D games for everyone? For example, how would you feel if Naughty Dog's next big game was a launch title for PSVR 2?
I don't like it. It feels bad in my ears hearing that. Not to say like if down the road if they want to, you know, dip their toes into a PSVR game, fine.
Sure.
But just to make it just on a peripheral that not a whole lot of people are going to probably get, and I feel like that would be a bad move for them.
And that's why when I'm thinking VR, I'm thinking of Valve, because they'll throw money at anything. And listen, we're big PSVR advocates. We love a good VR. But I think where Sony believes that space is, and where I think their investments lie in, is in the indie side of things. You know, give it to the smaller developers, smaller investments, smaller risks, possibly higher rewards. You know, I'm thinking of like a PSVR 2. It's like, make a headset that's capable to run Half-Life, because Valve would probably be down on putting that game on that headset if it means VR lives.
They have Alex.
Yeah, Alex. There you go.
Yeah.
They have London studios. Sony, so they could with Blood and Truth, which I've heard is amazing. Still haven't played it.
It is so good.
Like Astrobot Rescue Mission is a game changer, I think, in VR, and like, but so they do have teams that can put out like a high quality AAA experience on VR, but I'm with you. I want the Mosses of the VR world. I want like the Ghost Giant. I want or like goofy fun like Job Simulator. Like that's what I want out of VR.
Okay.
I feel like that scene in Mean Girls, just stop trying to make VR happen.
Oh, VR's
like,
fetch?
VR is fetch in that situation. And I say this with actual data. When they actually poll gamers, people don't want to give up their controllers. VR also puts you into a space where I mean, if you think about it, it's also one of the reasons why motion stuff got phased out. Like size, right? Like where you need a certain space and area to be able to play this thing most of the time. If you don't have that, it's axed out for you. Availability, you don't have the price point, it's axed out for you. Limited games on it, it's axed out to you. And so like when they've actually polled gamers, like they don't see VR as something that they want or is accessible.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, when people gave Xbox a whole bunch of shit for saying, oh, well, like, Sony's not our competition, or, like, they're not thinking about it that way, like, it got taken as, like, them stoking the flames of the console war, but that's not what they were saying. They were saying, like, the future of gaming is cloud gaming.
Yes.
It's not all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, and I say this, like, with close ties to a VR thing, like, is cool, but it's just like I mean, it's a bad investment.
Yeah, you say
also,
that.
How dare you?
Like,
but I get it.
I mean, you say that, and I'm thinking like, I haven't hooked up my PSVR in probably a year,
and everybody that like I talked to is like, oh yeah, when PSVR 2 comes out, I'll hook that thing back up. And I don't want to say it's like the Vita, because they're really giving this a chance, but I think you are right there, Kate, where like a lot of people gave Phil Spencer shit. It's funny because it's either you give Phil Spencer a lot of shit or you praise him like he's a god, which is like both of them. It's like weird. You'll put him on like Rambo's body. It's weird. Anybody doing those photoshops, it's odd. But like for me, I think you're right there. I'm right there with you. Of like what Phil Spencer was saying is like he believes that the future is cloud, and I wouldn't say necessarily Sony says that the future is VR, but Sony thinks that there's a future in VR, and that's why there's those diverging paths. It's not to say that
exactly
boo PSVR. It's just like their investment. It's not worth it to go into VR the way that Sony's going into it.
Because the easiest way you can break it apart is cloud or hardware. And Sony's like Sony's staple that has like literally kept Sony through their bankruptcies and other parts of their company has been the hardware that it can produce and sell. Versus like Microsoft is literally one of the progenitors of cloud access with the Azure framework. Like, and that is something where like when you look at the two things, which is also why I think just console wars are silly. They just do different things. And that's okay.
It's just a-okay. With that, because we're running a little bit long in the tooth, but I do want to get to CD Projekt Red's story. So let's talk about it real fast, because I like Famous's question a lot.
This comes from Jordan Gerblick over at Games Radar. CD Projekt releases apology video explaining Cyberpunk 2077's controversial launch. CD Projekt Red has released a video with co-founder Marcin Iwinski owning up to Cyberpunk 2077's rocky launch on consoles, particularly there we go, PS4 and Xbox One. The video offers CD Projekt a perspective in the days leading up to Cyberpunk 2077's December 10th launch, explaining the chief reason for the game's notoriously choppy performance on last-gen consoles. Quote, Cyberpunk 2077 is huge in scope, and I'm not only talking about quests or things you see at first glance. I'm talking about the multitude of custom objects, interacting systems, and mechanics. In the game, everything is not stretched out over flat terrain where we can make things less taxing hardware-wise, but condensed in one big city and in a relatively loading-free environment, Iwinski explains. On its own, this is a challenge, but we made it even more difficult for ourselves by wanting to make the game look epic on PCs and then adjusting it to consoles, especially old gens. That was our core assumption, end quote. The main culprit, Iwinski says, was the process of optimizing the in-game streaming system for last-gen consoles. Quote, since the city is so packed and the bandwidth of last-gen hardware is what it is, it constantly challenged us. Every change and improvement needed to be tested, and as it turned out, our testing did not show a big part of the issues you are experiencing while playing the game. As we got closer to the final release, we saw significant improvements each and every day, and we really believed we would deliver in the final day zero update, end quote. The COVID-19 pandemic also posed issues for CD Projekt as they scrambled to improve console performance after launch. Quote, this all happened while working from home with all the challenges resulting from the COVID-related restrictions. A lot of the dynamics we normally take for granted got lost over video calls or email, and we took that hit too, end quote.
Now, they also released a roadmap to when they think they're going to be able to get all these things out to you. So, first things first, they marked the 3 patches that they sent to players. And then they talked about patch 1.1 and then 1.2 that's supposed to be out sometime around February. And then they talk about free DLC that'll be somewhere mid-year. And then somewhere in 2022, or sorry, near 2022, we're thinking it looks like maybe like September, October, we get the true next-gen version of these games. Yeah, I know, it sounds so painful. It sounds...
I hate it all so much.
It's so... Oh, yep. God. Famous Seamus.
The worst part of this is when you were reading that is like, we didn't take into account last gen. This was literally supposed to come out on last gen only, y'all. Like, how to, like, what?
Yes.
When this idea started, PS5 and Series X weren't even a thing.
Yes, we didn't even know what they were going to be.
This game was announced in 2012.
Yeah.
The president was black then. We all loved him. He came out with a 59% approval rating. And look, like, I'm right there with you. Like,
it's so frustrating.
It's a very frustrating thing to talk about. That's why I debated putting this story in here, because at one point it's like, yeah, I feel like we should have a conversation about it because of how ridiculous it sounds. And also at the same exact time, I'm like, we're going on a month talking about a Cyberpunk. And so Famous Seamus writes in, do you think CDPR's video was a good step in the right direction, aside from blaming the QA team, even if the new Bloomberg article and the other co-founders' response to it? I don't think this was necessarily the smartest move.
No! Like, I feel sorry for the PR team that works with them because, it's all just, to me, it just skirts around any issue.
Yes.
Like, it tries to dance around it. Like, they make and then the scapegoats that they use are things that they can't even call it that, because, like, you should have been building this for current gen at the time anyway, because your first release date, there wasn't even next gen consoles out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't use that as a scapegoat.
And you're right, they're skating around it because it's kind of like, hey, we're sorry you feel bad type of response, because they have so many lawsuits. There's just a new one out today around this title and about the bullshit that has been spun around it. And like, Kyle, you heard Kate's frustration. You hear mine. Where are you at here?
I'm right there with you. This is fucking bullshit. I hate it. It's the thing that I hated most about watching this video was, let me get his first name correctly. Marcin Iwinski. He's like, yeah, listen, I'm part of the board. We decided to put it out anyway.
Yeah. Just
for our bottom line. And for me, that's just like, don't, like you said, Joe, this is a bad move. You're basically just telling me all you care about is the bottom line. You don't care about the product. You just want it out there. You want money in your pockets to appease the investors and whatnot. I don't relate to that. I want a game to play.
And here's the thing, like,
on the things that I have.
For some Series X people out there, right? Is that right? Yes. For those folks out there, like our buddy Kev loves it. I know a lot of people that love it. Ains
because it's
loves
pretty
it.
much a computer in a console. That's all. That's why.
Yeah. And so there are people out there enjoying it, and this doesn't mean like I'm going after your enjoyment, but I am speaking to the problems that be, because before this or CD was just like, oh, we're the transparent company. And this video was just like, man, you put out any CEO of any company and it reads exactly the same. This was, they were supposed to be the Feel the Burn company, and I'm feeling an EA vibe from them. And yeah, go for it, Kate.
No, I was gonna say the worst part is like none of this even addresses the worst thing to me, which was how they manipulated the review process to benefit them.
Yeah, because they're like, we had no idea. It's like, well, how did you not have an idea?
Yeah,
well, no, but it's not even so. Like they 100% knew because they only gave out PC codes for embargo. They only trusted certain outlets before embargo, and then console people got codes literally like a couple of hours before launch, so there was no time to actually get up any reviews on it, so it kept stuff in their pocket. Like that was complete manipulation of media and review process, which shows that they willfully did this. And they knew that they only had like it just makes me so mad, because there are like, yes, like all the other stuff is still bad, but like, can we please just talk about the issue with gaming companies just manipulating reviews to fit them? Like that, like nobody should be able to do that.
And yet here we are. And I think that it's the most egregious form of it. It's the most egregious. Like, I've never seen a company outright, like, you're totally right, like, give people the PC code, and then the day before the game comes out, you give them the console broken versions of these games. And like, the other thing is, like, how can I take your word, again, for this roadmap that's pretty vague, and at the same exact time, it's like, well, how many times did you say this game was coming out this year? Like, how can I take your word for it? You just can't. And that's the thing that hurts. So do I think this video was the right thing to do, Famous? No, absolutely not. I think what they should have done, and Kyle, I think you'll agree with me here, is take the Hello Games approach of, all right, time to put our head in the sand. We've already been embarrassed enough, or not head in the sand, head down, and let's get to work on making this thing good. Because anything we're going to say is going to be met with pessimism and outrage. You know, like that's what it's going to be.
Part of it was like, I feel like part of that idea did go through their minds, like, all right, let's just get it done and not put out another yellow background with text on it. And then someone's like, but you know what? We have to say something. So instead of the yellow image, let's just make a video. Let's try to talk about it. No, bad.
You know what they could have done? They could have just released this as a PC only.
Yes.
And then like that like they could have just done that.
Yeah, like
we're working on the console ports.
They could have, right? And
that
when like half of your
much grief.
Yeah, and like half of your pre-orders were PC anyway, so it's like, but they really wanted to see that big, you know, they really wanted to see that you know, the graph go all the way up. You know, they wanted all signs going up. That's kind of what I see by that. So no, I don't think this is the best plan. But Kyle, I let's get to the next story here, because it's gonna give us back to hope. It's gonna give us optimism. It's gonna be things to look forward to, things to get hyped for, and why Kate's here in the first place.
Absolutely. Let's get into the Hitman Review Round Up. Let's go over to IGN, who gave the game a 90. A rich, rewarding, and highly replayable, Hitman 3 is a superb installment of IO's idiosyncratic but much-loved stealth series. The fundamentals haven't changed since 2016, but its collection of outstanding maps makes for a refined, reliable, and robust curtain closer to the current Hitman trilogy. Over at Digital Trends, they gave it an 80. Hitman 3 is a great swan song to a fun trilogy of games held up by its intricate locations and humorous gameplay. Hopefully, future updates bring some important additions that extend its replay value and turn it into the ultimate stealth game it is within splitting distance of being. Over at Game Informer, it gives it a 90. Hitman 3 concludes a chapter in the greater Hitman story, but it doesn't feel like an ending. There's an abundance of content and side activities on offer, and the trilogy as a whole is bound to be a long-term destination for would-be assassins. IO Interactive's final act in the trilogy anticipates and rewards player experimentation, features meticulous level design, and has moments of ghoulish catharsis that makes me cackle aloud. My enthusiasm for it all is as indelible as the barcode tattooed on the back of Agent 47's head. And over at DualShockers, they gave Hitman 3 an 80. New levels, new targets, new graphical improvements, same Hitman taste. Hitman 3 won't be everyone's cup of tea, but the niche should be extremely satisfied.
So, Kyle, you've never played a Hitman ever in your life, right?
Nope, but I bought it today. I'm very excited. There it is.
Look at that.
PS5. I'm very excited.
I've never played a Hitman before. This was my first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is my first foray into Hitman as a series. I put 2 hours on stream. I put an extra hour off stream. I am in love with this game. I'm already like, why haven't I gotten into this game?
Yeah, like much like Kate when she was talking about how she enjoys watching people play God of War and like the Sony stuff. That's me with Hitman. I love watching people do Let's Plays of Hitman because it just looks like a ton of fun, but I never played it, so I'm very excited.
I launched a guy he was in a jet and it was just like make it look like an accident, and I made it look like, and it was the funniest thing I've done in a long time in a game. It was fantastic. Like it's awesome. It is. Oh my god! It is when people say a sandbox for an assassin game. I never understood that until actually getting my hands into it. But someone who could help us out here on describing this game, talking about their feelings, their emotions, their hype for this game. Kate, we brought you on because you wanted to talk about Hitman. You needed to get this game off your chest because you got thoughts, you got opinions. So I'm gonna let you have the floor. You got a good 5 minutes. Go for it.
I am actually really thrilled to hear that this is your first time playing a Hitman game. Because what I think that Hitman 3 does beautifully is it lowers down the barriers that stealth games usually put up for people. Because like I suck at stealth games.
Same.
I run and gun. Like that's what I do. Yep. I don't know how to be stealthy. I don't know how to be sneaky. And one of the beautiful things that Hitman 3 accomplishes, and really the 2016 up, is allowing the game to become what the player wants it to become, because you can play into the overt level of absurdity. You can play into only killing your targets, or you can play to complete, like there is the very last map. I literally left nobody alive. Like I just berserked through the whole thing. It's so fun. Like and it all caters to what you do. Yeah. And there's this beauty to it in that the enormous challenge system that it offers per location allows you to gain, how do I say it? To gain commendations for how you play. Yep. Because there are some things that happen in games where when you play them, they kind of, dumbed down isn't the right word, but like sometimes when they become less complicated.
They feel like sometimes they're also punishing you.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. So like you have games that punish you for not doing something a particular way, or you have games that take away the challenge of doing something a hard way. And what Hitman 3 does is it allows you to play your way in the purest of forms, in that you're rewarded no matter how you play. If you want to go that super stealthy hard route, turn that thing on to hard mode, get into your stealth, and you will complete challenges for it. You just want to throw Fabergé eggs and bananas at people, you will also get rewards for it. Like that is just the beauty of it. And one of the things that I think, like, because I didn't, as much as I love it, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. And that's just because there were some graphical issues in it, and like I have some issues with like how all the detail went into the clothing of the men, and then like you get to some levels and like the women are in like trash bags. They're not in literal trash bags, but they look like trash bags because there's no depth to them compared to like 47's like amazing suit.
And his air suit, like when he jumps out, like you see like it ripple and shit.
Rough, yes, it's so good. Wow. But like that's the beauty of the game. Like it's a stealth game for people who love hardcore stealth games, and it's a stealth game for people who are intimidated by that game type.
Yes.
And I think that is something that, like, I think it does it a disservice to call it a niche game because of how open and accessible it is to players, regardless of what type of play style you have. Yeah. And I think that's something beautiful that we don't get all the time. And just like the location design is gorgeous.
I was about to say, the level design in this is so in depth. I've never seen a level design like this in a video game before. Usually I'm like From Software, the honeycomb-esque ways that like you're in one area, then all of a sudden you find that shortcut. This one's very much like it is a chocolate layer cake of 1,000 layers. Like there's
yes.
Like the one mission I did in Dubai, I was in the world's tallest tower, right? And it's just like there's 7 layers to do. There's 7 different places to explore, and it still doesn't make it like, oh, I'm just in an office building because it's Dubai and all the buildings are extravagant. So like there's all these different like, you know, like glowing crystals in one room, then you're in a security room that you snuck into the next. Like every locale looks and feels a little different, still there. And like what you said too is like, even like I'm the worst stealth player in the world. I'll be like, oh shit, well, I gotta use the AK. Like, I'm kind of like the Shaun of the Dead meme, or where he's just pumping the shotgun, going, "Shame." Like this is it. Like there are times where you have to press the "oh shit" button, and you're not necessarily punished for it, which is great. Like, like I had to assassinate a guy. I was throwing knives at targets. I had to make it look like a mistake and hit him. I hit him, and I hit the guard, and then someone else came in. I was like, "Ooh, I'm sorry, you came in at the wrong time," and I had to, you know, rope-a-dope him as well. But like, I wasn't punished for it. It was just like, all right, so you did a thing. You're an assassin. You're not a really good guy.
And I think like one of the other cool things is the amount, like, I definitely recommend anybody playing is to not rely on auto saves and like save every time you accomplish a task.
Yes.
But like one of the things that I did, and I won't spoil it for anybody because it's my favorite part of the game, in Dartmoor, which is the second level of the game where you go to a mansion and an estate, there's an entire murder mystery portion, and I could not find a crowbar to open up 2 of the rooms. So I was just like, I'm just going to kill my target because I'm over this. And then when I was running away trying to find my way out, I found a crowbar. I was like, well, time to burn the last 15 minutes of my life and reboot to before I killed her. And now I'm going to finish. And like that type of jump in, jump out, replay, play at your place is something that is so well done in this game that it never feels too much or too little. Like it feels rewarding. And like I got really stuck a couple of times. Yeah. And it truly is a game that if you walk away from it for 30 minutes, think about what you did and come back to it, you're going to come back to it with a new lens.
Kind of, it is really like when people, I've heard the analogy of like, this game's like a puzzle game, really, more than anything.
Yeah.
You're solving
100%.
You're trying to solve the puzzle. And the cool thing is like, they're giving you different ways of solving the puzzle. So, like, the one thing that makes it the replayability there is there'll be, like, one time of just, like, okay, just sneak and assassinate the guy. And they're like, okay, you know, now you could do it in a way where, hey, do it as, like, you're dressed up as a cop. Or do it as where you're sneaking in as part of the help. You know what I mean? Like, or you're the bartender and you're poisoning the drink. Like, or make it look like a freak accident, which are always the funniest ones. Like, there's always these interesting ways of, oh, I did it this way, and you see the way you could have done it differently, and you're like, I'm gonna do that. Be right back 1 second. And you're playing the same level, but differently, and it feels like a different experience. Like you're almost playing like a different level. It's absolutely unique, the things that they're able to do here. And other than like, yeah, I could see like some of the female, like your handler, like it looks like she's wearing cardboard.
She's so bad.
Yeah. But is there anything else that because we're pretty glowing on this game, is there something else that you weren't necessarily a fan of? Because you are a big fan of the series. You think 47 is a very, very handsome man, and I kind of agree, yes. But he has a creepy voice. Creepy voice.
I love that voice.
Really?
That voice in the suit? Mm-hmm.
Because like when I see him in the suit, I'm like, okay, this is like he's an attractive man. I get it, right? But then like he he's fit and everything, and then all of a sudden like, hello, my name is Agent 47. I'm like, whoa, what is that voice? Doesn't match that body. But what is there anything else that you weren't? You get it given an 8.5, which is a great score. Is there something else that kind of rubs you the wrong way?
Well, it was just that, and then it really just like the UI of the main menu. There's a lot going on in the menu selection phases of everything. Well, it was on me, and it was more user error, but like instead of going to the load game, I hit the story missions and ended up going into there, and I played through Death in the Family again after I finished it, but I played with it through the story missions, which is a whole different set of criteria. So like I had two other targets that I was supposed to eliminate. I couldn't change my disguise at all, so it was super stealth focused, and I spent so much time in it, and I was like, oh, I didn't need to do that. And so like really just like the design of the main menu and kind of navigating that was one of my issues, but overall I thought it was really stellar. And the funny thing is like as much as I'm a fan of the Hitman series, up until 3 I had never completed a full Hitman game. Like I had just played levels of different ones since it had started. And so I had never really, I've watched a lot of it, but I had never really, gone in and beat it, played it to completion and then some. And now when I beat this one of the things that it does that is also really well is it gets you up to speed to where you are in the story, so that you don't feel like
that
you
was
need
my
to
question.
Play the other two.
Yeah.
Like having this be my first one, and do I have to go back to 1 and 2 and catch up on play those to figure out where we are, because we're at the end of, what are they calling this, the end of the assassination
World
trilogy?
of Assassinations.
Yeah. So like do you need to go and play 1 and 2
No.
to understand the story? And is the story even like a story that's gripping, or is it just like an action stealth kind of story? I
thought it was gripping.
Sweet.
So the opening piece before you go to your first mission, it's literally called The Story So Far, and they kind of recap what happened and where you are now and what your plan is going forward.
Perfect.
There's some really interesting things that get done with 47 that really humanize him and make him more emotional, and shows that he does have connections to other people, specifically Diana. So that's a really good story in that far. And ultimately I do think that this feels like an end to what Agent 47 was before. And so they can do more Hitman things going forward, but Agent 47 has made his choice, grown, and is now a different person.
That's cool.
And
I like that.
The other thing that's also like really well done from a storytelling perspective and really a narrative design perspective is each of the locations really feels like a movie in and of itself, and like different types. Like awesome. When you get to Chongqing, that is like a science fiction, like cyberpunk like feeling. And like what you have to do there and what you're interacting, I don't want to give any spoilers, what you're interacting with really embraces like the sci-fi elements. And then obviously Dartmoor is a murder mystery. Dubai might as well be like a heist. And then there's like one level that I can't wait to have other people play, which is pretty much just Snowpiercer, where you're going from one end of a train to the other.
I just started the show, by the way.
Yo, yeah.
Dude, Daveed Diggs is in it, and I'm already in. I'm just always waiting for him to break out in a fucking song. I'm like, you're Lafayette, but you're like your dirty version of Lafayette. But I love you. Let's go, David. Sorry, you got me triggered with Snowpiercer.
No, you're fine. But like, and that's just like one of the really great things about it, because it really lives in all of these different genres, and because it does that, you're utilizing different game mechanics every level, and you get to exploit all of those game mechanics in different ways. So like for me, like, is the game, it's hard because like I couldn't say that it got a perfect score because there were some issues.
Sure.
But this was a strong start to large games coming out this year, because as much as CD Projekt Red wants to blame COVID and wants to blame miscommunications over Zoom calls,
yeah,
this is the first game that we've had launch that I just think is a solid launch without all of the problems that a lot of other games have had.
Because I know like the only problem right now is like the server load. They did not expect as many people, so looks like successful launch.
Exactly.
And right now there is, so the cool thing about Hitman 3 is when you purchase it, all the updates for that game actually carry over to 2 and 1, which is interesting. I want to see how that plays out.
Oh.
Yeah, so like, yeah, you're right. Like, CD, what the fuck was your problem? Because this guy, these guys over here, they updated their old games and brought out a new one, and reasonably so. It's a pretty smooth launch. Other than
and
like,
they're
again,
indie.
yeah, technically, look at that, first indie game of the year. So yeah, overall, I'm loving it. I can't wait. As much as I love this conversation, I can't wait to turn this off and go play it.
Can I ask you a quick question about how, because our big thing here is our worry that the DualSense controller is not going to be used to its full potential by non-first party stuff.
Right.
Do you feel like Hitman takes advantage of it in any way yet, or
not yet? So that's
Not yet.
worrying.
Okay.
That's worrying. But you do
All
throw
right.
a wrench at people, and it's fucking hilarious.
You can also subdue people with a banana.
I'm going to do that.
They're in lockers.
I am going to try that out. Don't tell me how you do it. I just want to see that animation play out. I don't know. With that though, Kate, you recommend this game? It sounds like
I do 100%. It comes with my strongest recommendation. Like I cover games. Usually, I mean, when you work with PR, they really just expect a review, but every now and again, I get really taken up in a game, and that happened to me with Immortals Phoenix. I wrote, I think, 5 pieces on Immortals Phoenix, and then when I wrapped Hitman, I had just planned to do a review and then like maybe a jokey article about how hot he is in suits. I did do that when I ranked all of the starting ones. You can go find that. Also, if you would just want to see the suits, they're all in there with screen caps. But I wrote 4 pieces on this, so like a little bit over 5,000 words on how fun this game is and how good it is, and I'm really proud of the folks at IO, because I know that like past Hitman launches have been pretty rough.
Yeah.
And right before this launch, they were dealing with some issues with PC players because since this is an Epic Game Store exclusive, PC players were gonna have to rebuy their Steam owned games on Epic in order to play the updated pieces.
Okay.
And so that's something that was frustrating to a lot of people. They're still working on that to make it so that players don't have to rebuy. I haven't checked the updates on that, but so like they had the potential to have a rough launch, and I don't think they did.
That's awesome.
And so I'm really proud of them over there. That was like it was really good. And it's hard to make a stealth game for everybody, and I genuinely think this is a stealth game for everybody. Like I feel like if you are not into stealth games, you should still pick this up, because this could be baby's first stealth game, and it would be
really
a perfect foray into the world.
Yeah, I definitely feel it that way for me. We're gonna have 2 questions, and I'm gonna save the rest for our next episode, literally tomorrow, for the Resident Evil episode that we're going to be doing. So this looks like PlayStation's going to have a presence somewhere sort in there. So again, be on the lookout for that. People that put in questions, don't worry, we're getting to them in the next episode. But I want to be respectful of Kate's time here, and I want to ask you one thing. Jedi Master Ren says, or asks, Hitman has always been a tantalizing IP for me, dating back to my days on the 360. Don't worry, I'll keep that between you and me. He means PS3. I played both that came out during the era, and I enjoyed them a lot. However, Hitman 1 didn't resonate with me, and part two, the episodic nature. Is that game mechanic something that resonates with you in this series? And follow up, do you think they'll use the same format for the upcoming 007 game?
Ooh. So I could easily see them making the 007 game into an episodic thing. Personally, I hate episodes.
Yeah.
Give me my whole game. You have it. I want it.
Yeah.
I also just think I don't think episodes are a good way to go from a player retention standpoint, just because people will check out if it's easy to have one faulty level or one faulty, mission, in a game that has 10, but if you're, I bought episode 2 now, and this sucked. Nope, not getting episode 3. So yeah, no, I didn't like that mechanic. I've never liked the mechanic with any game.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I don't think I think the fact that they didn't do that format for Hitman 3, I don't think that they will do it for 007. I think they could, and it would work well from a storytelling standpoint, but I just think that there were too many complaints about that from their players to go that way.
I think you're totally right, because for me, I think of Telltale when they're like, people buy the first episode, maybe episode 2 doesn't hit with them, or they forget to buy it because it was 3 months ago, and they they lose. people like to binge, and so I would match.
That's me. That's how I play those games. I wait till they're all out and play them.
I'd rather pay a whole $40 for whatever have you from them, and I just have it as a one thing, and or COVID fog. This is what I'm blaming for the rest of the year. When I think of Batman, the second one that Telltale did, I didn't like episode 2, and I didn't stick with it because of that. And so when I think about the episodic nature, I think more folks need to move away from that, and I think they are. I think they're kind of getting that point across, and that's why I think have seen games like Evil Within.
Wolf Among Us?
Wolf Among Us. Why was I thinking Evil Within? Jesus.
Very different.
Yeah, very different games. But Wolf Among Us too, and that's why I think that hasn't come out, because it's not episodic.
You hear that, Disney Plus? Give me all WandaVision right now.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Or I can't.
Unpopular opinion about WandaVision, because apparently I dig the Nick and Knight aesthetic, but I'm also bored. I'm also really bored. And there's a difference between me being confused but in, like I was with Watchmen, and me being confused and frustrated, and that's WandaVision. Anyway, that said, we do have one last question, and this is a PlayStation show. Joseph Yaden, the magnificent writer that he is, asks us a question that will stand the test of time. Hash browns, crispy or normal? Yaden, question for you. What's normal? What do you mean?
What?
So I'm thinking, when you're at a McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
All right, and this is before they'll raise the minimum wage and they're $1 million. Kyle, that's hash browns will be the currency of the future because of inflation.
Forget Bitcoin. Yeah. I'm investing in hash browns from McDonald's.
In McDonald's hash browns in particular.
I have 5 fridges full.
Dude, you're a hash brown millionaire. When you're getting that Mc hash brown, do you want it to be a little soggy? Is that what you said? Like it's been steamed in the bag, or do you want that crunch?
If I'm eating it right away, as I'm driving, crispy, 100%.
Okay, fair.
But also large in charge here. I get if I'm going for McDonald's breakfast, I get the platter with the pancakes.
Fair.
So then you put the hash brown on it and let the syrup get in it. Like, ooh, that's real good. So and that gets a little soggy.
Chef Kyle here. Look at this.
I'm still trying to think what a normal hash brown is. Is that just like cut up potatoes and like regular?
I don't count that as hash browns. When people
Like
like, well, here's your hash.
That's just
hash?
potatoes.
That's
Yeah,
you're literally
right?
just that's literally potatoes.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, soggy food is disgusting, and I don't like it, and therefore crispy. Although hash browns are that weird food where if they get too crispy, there's like nothing in the middle.
It's
absolutely.
It's just it's just crisp.
It's either
There's no
desert or
potato.
swamp. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go crispy to an extent because I do want a little sog. You want a little, and Kyle's gonna hate this because he hates this condiment. I have to have ketchup on it.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, Kate, you're not a
guess
fan of
it's
ketchup?
No, I'm not actually. Fun fact about me: I hate condiments. I'm
Yes!
fine with.
I
I'm
found
fine
somebody
with,
else.
Like, sauces, but I don't want your mustard. I don't want your ketchup. I don't want your mayo. I don't want any of that. It is nasty.
Goodbye.
Get it away.
Wow.
And the quality just gets worse. Like, maybe you can get like the farmer's market, like freshly made stuff. And that's like I'm still not going to eat it, but like, okay. But then you just get the giant bottle of red and yellow stuff, and it's disgusting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
I feel seen. I feel like I'm not alone anymore. Yes.
And
There
by
are
the way,
dozens of us.
real talk, this has been a fantastic episode. Again, we're going to save the Andrew House's snail mail for next episode because there is one question about Resident Evil that I really feel like should be saved for that episode from Nagachaka in particular. So with that said, that's been the trophy room this week. Kate, I want to thank you so much. You were absolutely fantastic. Where can people find you? Where can people get a listen to your podcast? Tell them all the things.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at ohmymithrandir, OHMYMITHRANDAR. I tried to make a Lord of the Rings joke, like, oh my god, but oh my Gandalf, but I wanted to, I don't know why I chose Mithrandir. I wanted to be extra deep cut, I guess. But that's my name, and I'm gonna be sticking with it because rebranding's too hard.
I've been there twice. I get it.
But you can find my podcast. I run But Why They're the Podcast, which is a weekly pop culture podcast where we dig into different pop culture things. We just released our Hitman episode where we go into the history of the game and what it's done for games in general, and why it matters. And then you can find my anime podcast, Did You Have To, as well. We're on all the podcasting apps, but Did You Have To is the anime podcast, which started about us reviewing live action adaptations of anime and asking, did this have to be made? And it's morphed into us just talking about pretty much anything under the anime sun. We've got an extra thirsty, the most recent episodes. We do have an episode on the history of hentai and what it's like. As well as yaoi. And we have a sexy monster episode coming out in February as well. But you can also hear our
question.
on,
I'm serious.
Hero.
I'm serious. What is yaoi?
Yaoi is boys love. It's also referred to as BL. So it is romance pairing.
Okay. They did that on South Park. That's how I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can range from wholesome hand-holding to
nice.
This is just hentai.
Okay. Cool.
With more story.
I love this. Everybody learned a whole new thing today, whether you wanted to or not. That's fantastic. Everybody, please check out Kate's stuff. She's fantastic, a fantastic writer. Go to But Why Though. Go. Kyle.
Yeah.
What would you like to promote today?
Myself, Mr. K-Step on Twitter and on PSN. If you want to follow some news about indie stuff, you can follow all my indie games coverage over at 61indie on Twitter, twitch.tv/61indie and youtube.com/61indie.
Awesome. And of course, you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, whether that's Spotify, whether that's not SoundCloud, sorry, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast, you can find the show there, except for SoundCloud. Or you can find the video version of the show over on youtube.com, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation channel. So go check us out there. And with all that said, with all that out of the way, please, not only keep your wits about you, but please support our Gaming for Guru charity. Again, even if it's $1, it's really going to help our good friend Guru recover and be his best self ASAP. So, with all that said, with all that out of the way, everybody, keep your wits about you. We'll see you next episode. Keep hunting and keep playing PlayStation.